Hey there, everyone.
And live.
Welcome to QSC Tech Talk. I'm Golden Preciado, and I'm an audio engineer and House of Worship specialist with QSC. And I'm along here with Jason Fernandez, live sound training specialist with QSC.
That's right.
And we are stoked to be hanging out here with you guys. And guess what? We have some really exciting news for you guys.
Dun-dun-dun.
Dun, da, da, da. We are super excited to announce our House of Worship training series from QSC. And I got right here the webpage.
Look at that.
Hey.
There it is.
Yeah.
Live and in person.
This is an AVIXA accredited training that every church sound volunteer will benefit from.
Absolutely.
And in the training course, we go over starting from the basics, everything from rolling an audio cable to setting up a PA to building monitor mixes and running sound for your service, broadcast mixing, and so on. It's a very informative training, and it's geared towards church volunteers because more than 90% of churches are smaller churches and are utilizing volunteers from their congregation to run sound. And it's tricky that you have to know something about audio.
You got to kind of know what you're doing. There's a little bit to the whole audio thing. I mean, just kind of walking in blind.
Yeah,
it can get overwhelming. It can lead to problems. So we put together a fully comprehensive course that can kind of step you through as a volunteer everything you need to know, like Golden said. Right at the basics, so how to roll a cable properly all the way through, actually running audio for your entire service. So
how many hours of video is there?
It's so many. It's actually haven't tallied it up yet, but it's the whole course is roughly 30 videos that range between like 2.5 minutes all the way to about 10-12 minutes. So the time varies, but yeah, it's very detailed, but it's very comprehensive, and it kind of steps you through every step of the way, kind of building you along as you go. And by the time you're done, you should be fully prepared, as well as officially QSC certified to go and run your service and take care of everything you might need to take care of.
Yeah. We've been working hard on this, spent just about a year on putting it together. So we hope it's a super blessing for you guys. And Brad is gonna post in the chat the link for that. So we would love for you guys to go in there and get started and take the course.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
And give us feedback. If you do go through the course, provide us feedback. How did you like it? Was there anything that you felt like it needs still? Was there anything you were hoping to get out of it that you didn't? Did you have an aha moment? Something totally just have a revelation and blow your mind? Let us know. We'd really appreciate it.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. Well, let's get started for today.
Let's get started. So what are we talking about today, Golden? What do you got for us?
Today, Jason, is the 5th episode in a series of 6 live streams covering mixer setup and workflow for common applications and House of Worship services. And in the last several episodes, I have been demonstrating how to create a contemporary House of Worship scene from scratch on a TouchMix-30 Pro. And as I create the scene, I'm not only teaching how to use the many powerful features available on the TouchMix, but I'm also teaching you how to best organize and streamline your workflow in order to make your live mixing experience intuitive and simple for you and your volunteers.
Yep.
And as I go, I've been talking about church dynamics, and that's helping us determine how we continue to set up and organize our mixer scene. So far, we've learned how to set up our channel strips, including things like drums, bass, keys, guitars, vocals, spoken word, stereo inputs for our presentation computers, and so on. We learned how to set up our output channel strips, which included stage monitors, in-ear monitors, a discrete broadcast mix for our live stream. We learned how to send mixes to our zones. For example, the lobby, the outdoor patio area, the assisted listening system for our hearing impaired. Oh, we learned how to add effects, which is like the special sauce.
Yeah.
We add effects to our sound. Yeah. In our last episode, we talked about how to use DCA groups and mute groups, which is kind of getting into fine customization of your scene. Yeah. If you missed anything that we've gone through so far or just need some extra review, you can find the previous mixer workflow episodes on the QSC Facebook page and the Church Sound Training Facebook group. And today we are going to be talking about user buttons, how to create user buttons.
Yes.
User buttons are ones that you'll use. The user gets to make them be whatever they want them to be. And your church will have specific needs, and you'll want to create specific user buttons for that. So that's what we're going to be covering today. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below, and so we can answer them. Well, now that we have Jason here, we can catch them during the presentation, which is cool.
That's right. I'll be monitoring the chat on my end as you're running us through the lesson here.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to dig into this one. User buttons are one of my favorite features on the mixer because of the customability. There's so many options, and you can really, really build and customize your workflow really nicely.
Yeah,
with it. So
exactly. And of course, the idea is making it so that you're making as few moves as possible, which the user buttons really help with.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's dig in. And right now I'm going to switch cameras to my mixer cam. So here we go.
All right. Live mixer. There it is.
Let's get it.
The wonderful.
Get it up and going. Getting really quick. 1 second here. Okay.
Looks like we got somebody joining us from Puerto de Veracruz.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
International live stream. Love it.
An international crew of people that join us every once in a while. It's so cool. The TouchMix-30 Pro features 8 user buttons that you can customize, and you can see them here right across the top. These are user buttons. That's what the U stands for. We have 4 more right here. Now, the important thing to note about user buttons is that they are global. When you make a change to a user button, the changes that you make will apply to every scene. They're not scene specific like everything else that we have been working on so far. So if I were to change scenes, my user buttons will remain the same. So that's the important thing to know about user buttons. Now, in our
an important thing to note, right up front.
Yeah,
they're not scene specific.
So if somebody else tries to change them and then they're not working properly for the original scene, that's why. So by default, the TouchMix-30 Pro buttons have been assigned to certain functions already. 4 of these we will not change because we will be using them quite a bit. And here's 2 right here, U7 and U8 are copy and paste.
Yep.
And
love those.
U7, they have little labels on it, which you can't probably see very well in my lighting, but there's little labels right here that say copy and paste. So why change those if they already have labels?
Says it right on the console.
Yeah. Now I want to just show you quickly how copy and paste works, because whichever window you're in, I'm going to go to a vocal channel. Let's say we make an EQ change to a vocal right here. Any window that I'm in, when I press copy and then move to the next channel, I can press paste, and you see that it makes that change. If I was in the compressor setting and I pressed copy and then pasted in another channel, that would paste into that compressor setting for the new channel. Over here, if I can copy and paste the whole overview window, and you can see it includes assignments to auxiliary sends, compression and gate. If I want to copy the entire shebang for a channel, I can go into the overview window, press copy, and then go to the new channel, press paste and it would copy all the settings. So you're kind of getting the idea with how copy and paste can be used. Let's say you're inside a mix, and this is our keys mix, and let's say you wanted to copy the keys mix over to the lead vocals mix for whatever reason. In this window, if you press copy and then go to, let's see, here's the lead vocalist mix, and then press paste, it'll copy the entire mix over into that auxiliary channel. One way this is helpful is if you were starting with an in-ear monitor mix, you could copy the entire main mix to start into somebody's in-ear monitor mix, and that would give them a starting place and everything would be partly intact and ready to go. So that is how copy and paste works. And that's U7 and U8, and we aren't going to touch those.
Nope. Very fun.
Another button that is already set up for us, by default, U6 is record and stop. Now, I'm going to actually record. We'll talk about record function in a later episode, because that
something I want to mention just real quick also before you get too far from copy and paste. On the TouchMix 8 and 16, those buttons are defaulted to U2 and U3. The 8 and 16 only have 4 physical user buttons that are local to the mixer, whereas the 30 here has 8 of them. So those assignments are still default on the 8 and 16. They're just slightly different buttons. We got U2 and U3 versus U7 and U8 on the 30. Just wanted to put that out there real quick.
Right. Let's actually enter that into the comments. TouchMix-30 U2, 2, and 3 are copy and paste, because there's a lot of people using TouchMix-16s as well in House of Worship too. So that's super important.
Good to know.
Now, one thing you'll know here, U6 does not have a label on it. So what I do, and this is like super important, label, label, label. So I used my label maker and I created little labels, and there's my label. It says record, stop. And yeah, now we're looking good on that. So we labeled that one. Another user button that we'll use quite a bit is U2, and that is the clear clip. When you're overdriving a channel, it will show up here in these mini faders as a red line. And that's an indicator that you'd better back off on that input gain so it stops clipping. But you'll need to clear the clip to know that the changes that you made are in effect. And this button U2, when you click that, it makes all the little red clipping lines disappear, so you can track what's clipping and what's not clipping. And again, I'm going to make a nice little label so I know what that is. The other reason this is so important with labels is as your volunteers step up to use the board, they need to know what those user buttons are for as well. So that's why I've got my little labels going. Okay, so now let's create some of our own buttons. So we're going to create a button for one of the mutes that we worked on last week. Last week, we created an all band mute. And if you go over here and press the mute group button, I'm going to actually make that just a little bigger so we can see what's going on over there. Yeah. Right here is the band mute. And when we press that, our band is muted, but all the spoken word mics are open. So there's definitely an application for that during our service. But we don't want to have to make 2 moves to get to it. So instead of having to press mute groups and then press mute on the screen, we're going to create one button, a user button that encompasses all of it. And I'm going to use user button 3 for the band mute. I'm going to go to the menu button right here. I'm going to press right here where it says user buttons. And then I'm going to go to mute in our first screen. That's the action. And then I'm going to toggle to mute group right here. This says toggle mute group. And right here it says band. That's the one I'm going to choose. Now I'm going to press assign. It's going to ask me if I want to assign. Oh yeah, I want to assign. And you can see that it's relabeled that user. I did it on 4 instead of 3. So I'm going to actually I'm going to clear this one. This reset button will clear it back to its factory default. That's good to know.
That is good to know.
So user 3 is actually where I want that one. So I'm going to go mute group, and then the band mute, assign. Yes, I want to assign. And now user 3 is my band mute. Now I'm going to be a good little label person and put my label right there.
So speaking of labels, when last week when we actually created this mute group, we did label it because that's a great part of your workflow, label everything. And you'll notice that label of the mute group that we gave it tracked in this menu here. So when we went to find the user button, go into mute groups, the labels that we created are actually showing up there. So anytime you label anything in the mixer, those labels track anywhere that's applicable in the mixer, which is again, just super convenient.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, shout out to Darren from Winnipeg. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, awesome. Very cool. Okay, let's go back to our home button and we can look at our work here. Here's our inputs there. I'm going to go to our band because I know I have lots of band stuff going on there. And when I press the band mute, you can see how they all went orange. Yep. Remember last week we talked about mutes. If they're orange instead of red, that means they're being muted from another place rather than the channel itself. If we mute on the channel, you can see it's red instead. If we mute from the mute group that we just assigned to this soft user key, it'll be orange instead of red. And that lets you know it's being muted from another place other than the channel itself.
Correct.
Okay, so now let's create one more mute group. Last week we made a mute group for everything. And this is something that we would use in between services to make sure, as the little kids are running up on stage and trying to talk on the mics and all that, we just have a button that's quickly going to mute all so they don't keep trying to talk in the mic. Yeah, shut it all down. So again, to get to our user buttons, we'll click menu, then we'll click user buttons right here. We're going to put this one on user 4. And again, we're doing a mute group. We have a lot of things, and Jason's going to talk a bit more about options for
there's so many possibilities.
Buttons. Yeah.
They're so fantastic.
Yeah. And then here we're going to toggle mute group, and then we're going to do the all mute right here. And you go assign. And you can see it's even put the label in there, all mute. So now we know that it's an all mute group. And I'm going to be a good little labeler here and put my little label here for all mute. So when the volunteer steps up, they know exactly which button does what. And then when they push that, you can see all my channels have been muted and they are orange. And then to unmute them, they can just press that user button. It's like one-stop shop right there.
One stop, yeah. I mean, not only once you got these set up, not only does it streamline your entire workflow, but I mean, just setting them up in general isn't difficult or doesn't take very long. It's
yeah, it's a really
process that just takes a few seconds and then ultimately shaves minutes off of your entire workflow.
Exactly. Okay, there's one more that I want to do, and it's a bit more of an advanced function. I'm going to go back into my menu here, go to user buttons. I'm going to make user 5 be a tap tempo. Some people like to change the timing of the delay that they're using, and we created a vocal delay that we put on the lead vocalist's voice. And depending on what song he's doing, you may want the delay time to be longer or shorter. And consoles give you the option to tap that timing in according to the song. So what we're going to do is click down here where it says tap tempo. And I had created a mono delay. And right here, I created a delay for tap delay. So I'm going to choose that one and then click assign. And you can see that my user 5 is now blinking. That's because it is tapping out the timing of the delay that's set in there. Now, let's say they're singing a quicker song and you're tapping out in time to the song. And you can see how my tap tempo light is beating at that speed now. So that's another super useful button that I seem to use quite a bit. Now, if you were done at this point, you would save your scene. I'm going to switch over back to my other camera and have Jason tell you some of the other awesome things that you can do with the user buttons.
Gosh, I mean, where to start? You can do things like assign a user button to select a specific fader or a DCA or a mute. We did mute, but you could select a DCA fader, a channel fader, output fader, or a subgroup fader. So if there's anything in particular that you need to have quick access to, you just hit that user button and automatically it's going to grab that fader, and then you just turn the dial. You don't even have to interact with the screen. You hit the button and then turn the dial, and you're making really fast changes to that particular channel. You can assign recording controls to it. So if you want to have a button that starts and stops the recording, or arms and unarms all of your channels, or sets them to track, you can set up a button to do that. You can, there's something that I actually use a lot. If you need to set up a post fader mix, one of the steps in setting up a post fader mix is to set all of your faders in your aux, in that particular aux, to Unity. Instead of having to grab all of them and slide them to Unity, you can set a user button that will called fader to 0, which is Unity. And so you assign the user button that, so then you select your fader and hit that, and it automatically snaps them right to Unity. So you can just very, very quickly set all of your faders to Unity using that button.
Yeah, super convenient.
I mean, that's just to name a couple. You can, the sky's the limit with these things. I mean, whatever you need them to do, whatever's going to customize and optimize your workflow for you, you can get a user button to do that for you. You can get it to select a particular screen. So like, let's say you want to be able to have quicker access to like the gain wizard screen to be able to go in and check what the gain wizard is monitoring at any given time and be able to reset that. You could assign a user button that just takes you right to that screen. And anytime you need to, you just pop in and out of there. So
I have to quick tell you one button that I would not put on a user key.
Okay.
And I have done this before, and I thought, it's so convenient to get back to our start session where the faders are down. I had assigned a user button, and when you press the button, it automatically switched to that scene. Super convenient. However, when you're on an iPad, those buttons are pretty close to the edge, and those who have big fingers, I had one guy like using the iPad with it, and his finger accidentally brushed up against that user key. And in the middle of the event, it switched back to the start scene with all faders down, everything zeroed out. So it was a disaster. So I am not going to recommend that you make a scene change key.
User beware.
Yeah. Just checking to see if we have any questions. Did you see any there, Jason?
No questions so far. It's got a couple of people joining us from different parts of the world, which is fun. But no questions. So, either you're doing a great job and they understand it, or everyone's just real shy.
Yeah. Well, we have one more episode in this series of our mixer workflow for House of Worship. Yep. And our last one in the series will be custom faders. But next week, we're going to take a quick little break. And as I was telling you earlier in the show, we started our House of Worship training series. We made it live on the QSC website. And next week, we're going to give you a tour of that with some pieces of it, and then show you all the things you can learn. This is set up specifically for volunteers, because more than 90% of churches, at least in the U.S., are smaller churches that are volunteer-based. And people have no idea what they're getting into when their pastor has them raise their hand and say, help out with sound. There's actually a science behind this whole thing.
So I'll just make sure the volume is right.
Yeah. And the course teaches the basics, everything from rolling a cable to mixing a live stream dedicated broadcast mix. So it's pretty comprehensive. I have a quick video to show you. It's the opening video of the learning management system. So I thought I'd show it to you right now.
All right, let's see it.
Come on, just clap your hands with me. Come on, we're gonna clap your hands.
Well, hey there, and welcome to QSC's House of Worship audio training platform. I'm Golden Preciado, and I'm super excited to walk you through the ins and outs of audio production with a specific emphasis on church and ministry applications. Okay, so I'm just gonna lay this scenario out in front of you because I know this has happened at many church fellowships. The pastor or ministry leader says, "We need help with audiovisual. Who would like to volunteer and help out?" Volunteers step forward and say, "I'll help. Just show me what to do." And no one really realizes that there's a whole science behind this audio thing, and that bad things can happen when one is placed in the audio ministry with no training. Whether it's a large church with sub-venues or an intimately sized or mobile church, there will be volunteer sound people with beautiful hearts to serve that need to grow in their knowledge and understanding of live sound reinforcement. And that's where this training platform will be super helpful. A new volunteer can take this training course before stepping into an actual audio situation and be better prepared for the many nuances that await them. Someone who's had some past audio experience can take this training for review and learn some new concepts along the way. In this course, you'll learn best practices for setting up, sound checking, and running a smooth worship service. You'll learn how to use QSC gear like the TouchMix family of mixers and powered loudspeakers. And then you'll reach for the next level by learning some advanced audio engineering concepts. Here at QSC, we're committed to equipping you with the tools and training you need so that you can deliver amazing sound service after service with precision and clarity. So let's dig in. So
Let's dig in.
there you have it. That's this. Yeah. So we're going to post the link to the training right underneath in the comment section, and we hope you guys.
I think that's already up there. If you go up,
Oh,
just scroll up
awesome.
to the top. That's been posted. So go check it out. Hopefully it's helpful. Let us know what you think. We're
Very
excited about it.
cool. So quickly, Jason, if you could just tell us about our few groups, Facebook groups we got out there.
Yeah, sure. Just real quick, a couple of Facebook groups that are worthy of checking out. First one would be the TouchMix user group on Facebook. It's a very large already and growing community of TouchMix users and people that are interested in TouchMix as well, and just kind of mixing in general. It's a nice collection of users from all around the world who offer help and advice and share stories and things like that. So it's very cool. It's also moderated by a few of us here at QSC. So if you join it, you'll interact with some really, really cool people from all over the world, and you'll be able to get some direct interaction from us at QSC as well, to kind of help answer application needs and things like that, or different questions you might have about the mixer. The other group that we have that's worth checking out is called Church Sound Training, and that is spearheaded by Golden here. And that is similar to the course that we just set up. It is kind of geared towards helping people specifically in church sound environments to kind of get the hang of things and answer questions and provide advice and provide different little bits of training information and things like that. So definitely check those two groups out. And I should say the church sound group is kind of focused on house of worship audio. However, a lot of the concepts that are discussed in there are pretty universal audio concepts. So it's worth checking out, even if you're not there for a house worship purposes. So.
Yep. Also on December 4th, I'll be presenting at a virtual conference organized by soundgirls.org. I'll be teaching on broadcast mixing for live streaming, and super relevant for today in today's world. You can register for that conference at soundgirls.org. Link will be in the comments. And again, that's soundgirls.org. And
Cool.
My presentation is going to be on December 4th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
All right.
So we just want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Been a lot of fun.
Norm from Freeport and Dana from Des Moines.
All right.
Hopping in here at the end. Thanks for joining up.
Yeah. Thank you. If you go back and take a listen after we're finished, if you missed anything. I'm Golden Preciado, and this is Jason Fernandez.
Hello.
And from all of us here at QSC, strive for excellence, never stop learning, and be the best that you can be. And we'll see you next time on QSC Tech Talk. Bye for now.